For March 22nd, we do have a workshop. Council meeting this next Monday, and then March 22nd workshop. I think staff put on here to discuss police fire letter of recognition or proclamation. I know they've given me some examples of different things that different communities have done. Unless council has any thoughts, any other direction, what I was looking at trying to adopt was a proclamation that's already been put together by a couple of other cities in recognition of police and fire services.
One thing I wanted to add to that is, I don't have numbers on Washington or Oregon, but I know in New York State, there are more highway workers killed every year than there are policemen or firemen.
They can't shoot back.
And they're out playing in traffic. So I would like to broaden it a little bit to include essentially all of those public workers who put themselves at risk.
We could certainly do that as we formulate the proclamation.
I think there's a difference between people whose occupations put some risk, like highway workers, and those who face criminals with guns, run into burning buildings to save people who started a fire by falling asleep while they were smoking and things like that. So I would argue to go the other way and limit it to public safety personnel.
Just for example, the one year that I did check in Oregon, there were 10 state patrolmen who were killed or sufficiently injured that they didn't return to the department when they made a traffic stop, got out of their car, and were talking to the detainee, and their car was then tail-ended and driven in, and there was one who was killed in what we would normally think of. And so I'm sure the chief is quite aware that traffic kills more cops than gunfire.
There is an opportunity, if we limit it to the public safety, to take advantage of a week in the first part of May, I think, Chief.
Yeah. Law
Was it
enforcement
national or
memorial.
state level?
It's national.
But I don't know if we include the others in it, if that's appropriate.
That one's directed just to law enforcement itself.
Most of the highway workers that are killed or injured are traffic control people, flaggers, not equipment operators. That's a separate issue.
I have a suggestion. I appreciate your concern about the public safety people, but you know what? When you first brought that up, every single employee that we have is an ambassador for this city, and if we're going to recognize public safety, then they're damn sure not going to leave out Public Works and the people that work here at City Hall. So if we end up with two different celebrations, so to speak, or recognitions, that's great. I don't have any problem with that. But if we're gonna identify public safety, thank you very much. But we're gonna also identify these other people over here that are doing all of their jobs and doing them very proficiently and very well.
I think you raise a great point, and I agree with it. I was thinking in terms of the celebration of the National Week for Public Safety, and I hadn't thought in terms of the others, but you raise a good point.
They're our ambassadors. They're all doing their job as well.
And from what I can see, they're doing it well.
And I like the other one that, in the past, we've done done a recognition of all volunteers, and that's a big deal too. Not only just volunteer firemen, but we have volunteers on planning commission, cemetery board, all those
Seniors.
things. So I like to see that happen too.
I remember I used to be two of them.
And it isn't just. I think that we've always had a reasonably good pay scale. I like the idea that all of our management has said we want a lot of expectation for that pay scale, but recognition is a big deal, and it makes those
I
people
agree.
feel well.
Let's see if we, as I get into this, if I can do a little bit more homework and see if we don't have appropriate weeks or recognition times. I've got to believe that the fire service has one just the same as.
October, fire safety week is October.
Okay.
We're going up to the schools all the time for that.
Let's see if we can't make appropriate ones during each one of those and just make sure that we've got them on an annual list.
But
That'd be
your people are just as important to this city. They may not put their lives on the lines, but you do have people standing in the street. You have people that are walking in the street when they're out doing their inspections. So we're all in this thing.
Okay.
If there's an appropriate time to do that, I support it, absolutely. If there's not, we'll create one.
It's okay to be the first sometimes. Three other quick items. We did have, I'll make sure we throw it out there before any more discussion in the community happens. Okay, actually, four more things. One, I don't know how far Sherry sent out the email. It appears that Mary Jane's is in compliance with signs and/or their applications and permit processes for signs. So at the moment, that one is a non-issue as far as we're concerned from the city code and sign ordinances are concerned. We did have a small disagreement in the dog park this weekend that has caused a number of phone calls, at least to my phone number. And what it actually ends up bringing up are some other questions that I doubt anybody ever conceived or thought would come up when dog parks were created and that type of stuff. So I will be asking, most likely asking Dog Paws and the Humane Society and our animal control folks to work with us to relook at some of the rules and why we have them, where we have them, that type of stuff, and better define them so that we don't hit those going in the future. But evidently, a couple of the individuals that were involved are ones who are, they like to discuss what happened. So if you hear anything out there, if you get phone calls, we're already working on it. And at this point, it was pretty much just a disagreement among adults, not the animals themselves. So.
Okay, so this isn't having to do with someone being attacked or a dog doing something they shouldn't be doing?
No, there was supposedly in there at least one animal was maybe a little bit aggressive, but it was more philosophical differences on what's a small animal, what's a large animal, which animal is supposed to be on which side. Is it neutered, is it spayed, is it not, is it on a leash, is it not on a leash? You people are all ganging up on me.
Well, it's an off-leash dog park, so I would say.
Seems like the only thing to disagree about is the term adult.
And that would have just prolonged the discussion.
That would have made it worse.
Did
Yeah.
your guys get called down?
3 of them.
Oh my God.
gosh.
So, yeah. So, anyway, if you hear things out there, it's already being played with. I do want to certainly make the council aware, fire staffing, we are down significantly at the moment. Out of 9 firefighters, we are down to 5. We're trying to work with,
Six, we're down 3, right? Is that right?
we're down 4.
3.5, actually, chief, and, well,
Oh.
of the 9, because Austin Towsey's just working part-time right
Right.
now.
Yeah, light duty.
Okay.
I did stop and see the chief today over in Portland. He is back in the hospital on related, non-related infection and hopes to go home tomorrow or Wednesday at the latest. But at the same time, he's got some added parts to his body and his arms and that kind of stuff that'll be there for up to an 8-week period. So it may be a while